Say welcome back to Meech Speaks.
Welcome back to Meech Speaks.
No, Meech Speaks.
Welcome back to 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 Meech Speaks.
I want to say something. A prize, motherfucker.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Meech Speaks. I'm your host, Demetrius Thickpen, also known as Meech Speaks. Now, do me a favor, before we even get started with this episode, head on over to your favorite streaming platform and leave this podcast an honest review, because this podcast deserves to grow just as much as we do. Now, I don't know who needs to hear this, but the moment that you start to make change within your life, Look, before we even get started with this episode, I'm pretty sure y'all are watching this episode either on YouTube or on Spotify. But I just really want to just take a moment. You feel me? Like, I really want to take a moment because I'm currently sitting in my studio. You know what I mean? And as I'm sitting in the studio, I have to take a step back and look at everything that I have to record now. You know what I mean? And when I say that, for those who have really been fucking with me since day one, back when we were, Motivation for the Wandering Soul, I used to record back in a closet. You feel me? I used to record in a closet, in the corner of a closet. You feel me? I had a note. I had an Android phone. It was a note. I would plug up my gaming headset, press record on the phone, and I would just do everything from there. And then, when I got a little bit of money and the podcast started to build up just a little bit more, I went and bought a laptop. You know what I mean? I was gifted recording equipment. And then I finally, now here it is. I got a nice laptop. I got a great camera. I got a great mic. I'm operating shit off my fucking watch right now. I'm running it through some AirPods. You feel me? And I just really want to just say, damn, man, look at how God worked. You feel me? You feel me? Like, look how God worked. Look at what hard work gonna get you. You know what I mean? Like, when you're consistent in something, eventually you're gonna take a step back and remember where you used to come from, and now see where you're currently at and be like, damn, man, I can't even believe I made it this far. And I just really just got to get that out the way on this Monday morning. You know what I mean? Like, I really got to get this out the way on this Monday morning, because I don't know who's currently at level 1. I don't know who's currently at level 1 right now. I don't know who's currently doubting themselves right now. I don't know who's currently looking at their equipment right now. They're looking at their plans right now. They're looking at everything that they have right now and saying, damn, man, I wish I was the next guy. Damn, man, when is it going to change for me? Damn, when am I going to start to see the fruits of my labor? And this is big coming from me. You know what I mean? Because for those who don't know, I rarely give myself flowers. I rarely give myself flowers. Sometimes I feel like I don't even deserve the flowers that I have planted, and I don't even smell them. So as I take a look around, you feel me? I see signs up now. I see pictures and shit. I got a damn vision board now. And this isn't me to flex. This is just to let you know that I came from a fucking closet. I came from a fucking closet, and I stayed consistent. I kept my nose down, and I kept on, just putting the message out there, hoping to God that somebody hears it. I kept putting the message down, hoping that, maybe one day, I'll be able to get a nice laptop. I'll get a better fucking camera. I'll get some fucking lighting in this damn closet so that way I could possibly record. And it's all starting to show. So once again, man, like, I don't know who needs to hear this, but you're at level 1 right now. But if you stay consistent, you'll get to 2, you'll get to 3, you'll get to 4. Eventually you'll be at 10. Eventually you'll be at 15. Eventually you gonna max the level out, and there's gonna be a moment where you take a step back, right? And look at how far you've come. And that shit gonna feel so good. But anyways, man, like, this ain't even my final form, and everybody already knows that. This ain't even my final form. I'm eventually gonna go ahead and evolve into something much bigger. But let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. Now, as we sit back and we talk about progression and, keeping our nose down and keeping walking into our purpose and becoming that better version of ourselves as we navigate through the trenches of personal development in and out of the military, I really want a couple of people to understand is that the more you step out your comfort zone, the more opposition you're going to encounter. And I'm going to say that again because I don't know who needs to hear that, but the more you step out your comfort zone, right? You feel me? You're going to start to encounter more opposition. In fact, to be honest with you, as soon as you step out your comfort zone, just understand that, you are going to encounter some type of opposition. And I bring that up, man, because the adversity, it can change us. And the type of opposition this time that I'm talking about is the idea of being misunderstood. You feel me? And I bring up feeling misunderstood because I feel like we don't talk about that enough. You know what I mean? Like we're in this service platform. We're always in this service state of mind. So the idea of being misunderstood, it will be counterproductive to what we're trying to do. I don't know. Maybe you about to go in front of your Marines and you got to be of service to them. I don't know. Maybe you got to be of service to your family. So everybody has to understand what your plan is, right? Now, please hear me out. When you are making a change for yourself, and I got to talk about you on this round. When you decide to make a change that is going to benefit you, a lot of people are not going to understand what you are doing. The moment that you step outside your comfort zone, just like what I meant, a lot of people are not going to understand why you're doing that. They're going to say things like, why would you do that? You have all of these things back here. Why are you doing that? It doesn't make any sense. And I'm pretty sure we've all heard that saying, the method to the madness. And the problem is that when no one understands the method, it creates this state of confusion or misunderstanding. And that can be devastating. You know what I mean? Like, especially like if you're dealing with a mission and everybody around you is trying to work on this task, but nobody knows why they're doing it or what the fuck they supposed to be doing. It can be devastating when you're at the house and you're trying to explain why we need to do something, but you're not giving key things. But it can also be devastating when you understand exactly what you're supposed to be doing for yourself. And because your loved ones do not understand it, it almost hinders you because you're expecting their support. You're expecting their unconditional, undying support and loyalty towards your plans. And when you don't receive that, it makes you even question yourself. I remember when I first joined the military, and y'all have heard this story before. When I first joined the military, nobody believed in me. Nobody believed in me. They told me things like, why don't you go to college? Why don't you work at the factory? There's so many other jobs that you don't need to join the military. You're going to get blown up. You're going to have PTSD. You might lose one of your limbs. And I knew deep inside that this was the best thing for me. You feel me? Like I knew deep inside that this was the best thing for me. But despite how much I knew that it was the best thing for me, it still hurt. It still hurt that my loved ones didn't believe in me the same way that I believed in me. And as I got older, you know what I mean? Once again, still enlisted in the military. I still did. And that was 13 years ago. Now, 13 years later, I can't find anyone to essentially talk me out of getting out of the military. Because everyone feels like it was the best decision that I had ever made. Now, I bring that story up because we face things like that. We face similar situations like that all the time, where we know deep down inside of us what we're trying to convey. And it's frustrating because although I know for a fact what I said, it's being perceived differently to you. Although I know exactly why I'm doing this and I've tried to explain it to you, it's still not connecting. So with that being said, this episode is all about understanding being misunderstood, embracing being misunderstood, and dealing with being misunderstood. First things first, in understanding being misunderstood, you have to understand that this is not your viewpoint. You feel me? How they perceive something that's not a you problem. That's a them problem. And when I say that that's a them problem, we all have to understand that people can only understand or take in information from their perspective that is built off of experience. They can only understand things at their fucking level. You know what I mean? So when I told everybody that I was joining the military, I had to take a step back, and I wouldn't learn this until later on, that nobody that I was talking to had served in the military. My mom did not serve. My father did not serve. My brother did not serve. My aunts did not serve. My neighbors did not serve. None of my fucking friends had came back from the military. Nobody around me in Detroit, Michigan had served in the military. So when I was talking to them about serving the military or serving in the military, nobody was going to be able to give me an adequate opinion because they don't have the experience to base it off of. You see what I'm saying? They could tell me about working at the factory because I had like 4 people that worked at the factory in my family. They could tell me about going to college because I had 10 people in my family that went off to college and found themselves. But nobody was going to be able to give me that opinion or give me a correct perspective because they didn't serve. And I bring that up because that's a lot of times like what we face. You see what I'm saying? Like you're trying to tell somebody your aspirations and dreams, but their level of understanding ain't where yours is at. And I ain't trying to talk down to them. I'm just stating a fact. You know what I mean? Like you giving somebody a level 10 perspective, but they still at a level 1. You've experienced things that they have not experienced yet. You talking about stepping outside of your comfort zone. You feel me? Like you was talking about stepping outside of your comfort zone, and the people around you they're good in their comfort zone. They're okay there. So when you tell somebody your perspective from something, or you tell somebody your opinion, understand that information, you feel me? It came out of you. It's going over into their ears, but how it's being broken down, it's only going to be broken. They're only going to be able to take things from it that they understand. That's why you see a lot of times, like when you explain something to somebody, or a good example is one of my videos on Instagram. Like if you look at the comments, you could tell people who have missed the fucking message. You know what I mean? And I'll be honest with you, that shit used to leave me hot. You feel me? Like it used to have me upset because I know what I said. You know what I mean? Like I know how I conveyed it. How the fuck did you miss that? You know what I mean? Like how are you missing that message? But I had to take a step back and understand that some of the things that I'm speaking of, they have not experienced. Some of the things that I'm speaking of, they don't even understand the other side to that because they've always just been on one side. So for me to try to explain something or share a different perspective to a multitude of people, I'm going to face some type of adversity. Let me rephrase that. I'm going to face some type of opposition because they don't understand it. So as you sit there and you explain your dreams and aspirations, or tell them the plan in your life in which you are about to take, if they don't have the fucking experience to it, you know what I mean? Or they have never seen the other side to that, or don't understand the benefits from it, or don't even have the intellectual fucking intellectual understanding to grasp what you're saying, then of course it's going to get missed. Of course, there's going to be some type of fixation on one particular word that brings the entire message out of context. You have to understand that that's something that they have to deal with. They have to go out and do the research. They're going to have to be the ones to have to figure everything out to be able to grasp that information. You waste your time every single time that you have to keep explaining yourself. I just keep it a buck. Imagine you cooking and somebody walk into the kitchen and they ask you what you cooking, and you got to stop what you doing, explain to them what the fuck you cooking, and then get back to cooking again. And then another person comes in and does that. And then another person comes and does that. Soon, now your plan been delayed because you keep having to explain it to everybody. Now we need to understand the feelings behind being misunderstood. And once again, like, you know, I could sit back and say all of these things, but that's the easiest part, is to say it. You feel me? A lot of us have to go through that shit. And I bring that story of me being in the military, and I never talk about the feelings. I felt hurt by it, by the simple fact of not only are they misunderstanding me, but I'm also affected by this now as well. And a lot of times, like, when we take a step back and look at the situation, we're not really looking at the situation. We got to look at the feelings that are based in that situation as well. And sometimes those feelings might be anger. Those feelings might be fear. Those feelings might be confusion. Those feelings might be something. But take a look at those feelings and understand what is the root cause of that. For me, when people did not understand why I was going in the military, it made me upset because I was already feeling lost. I already felt like I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing in life. And I was trying to figure things out. So here my family is telling me that I'm not making the right choice already reaffirms a insecurity that I already have inside of me. You know what I mean? I'm already feeling lost, and now you're questioning the direction in which I'm about to go. That does not help the situation. And that's a lot of times like why we get so hung up in this idea of being misunderstood, and why we search and try to seek validation from our loved ones or the people around us, because they're aggravating a root cause. Fast forward, being on social media, when my messages aren't being properly received, or somebody has something to say about the episode, or there's a misunderstanding, I have to take a step back, because there is still a root cause with my misunderstandings. You know what I mean? Like I sometimes feel like, am I doing my community service? So when someone comes up to me and they misunderstood what I said, or they don't understand what the fuck I'm saying, I feel like I'm not serving my community. I feel like I'm not serving it. So when you understand where your emotions are coming from, like where this tug at your heartstrings, or this fog essentially is coming from, you have a better understanding of the misunderstanding overall. Next, let's talk about seeking validation. Now, I'm gonna just be honest with you. Being misunderstood, it's very frustrating, because it's like, bro, like I've already told you 1 + 1 is 2. Why the fuck do you keep asking me how did I get 2 out of that? You know what I mean? But when you have to constantly sit back and explain something, or when you feel like as if like you're being misunderstood, your initial response is to what? You want to clear it up. Now you can clear it up, with the people that are closest to you. But once again, you still got to understand that that's only at their level of understanding. You might spend hours trying to explain this shit to somebody. But there are times where you do need to clear things up. If you're working in a platoon and you have something that you have a tasker, you do need to provide some type of clarity and make sure that everybody understands. So that way that nobody's walking around, feeling confused about the situation. However, on a larger scale, like, I don't know, social media, say, for example, you post up a video, Demetrius, don't go up under every fucking comment that opposes your view and then try to provide some type of fucking clarification, because guess what that is, as you seek validation from them, is that is exhausting. You have every right to go ahead and try to clear that up, but at the exact same time, it's exhausting, because guess what you have to do, just like what you had mentioned earlier about being in the kitchen. You have to constantly keep explaining. And because you're constantly explaining things, you're not doing things. I'll say that again, because you constantly have to keep explaining yourself, you're no longer doing the things that you were talking about, because you're talking. To go back in time, when I was bringing it up with my family members, I had to explain, and essentially I ended up having to get validation from every person before I actually stood on those yellow footprints. And it wasn't that I needed to, I felt like I had to. You know what I mean? I had to explain to my mom that I was making the right decision. I had to explain to my grandmother that I was making the right decision. I had to explain to my aunt that I was making the right decision. I had to explain to my neighbors that I was making the right decision. And if you notice, it's starting to go from the most important person down to the least important person. And by the time that I actually enlisted in the military, I was so fucking emotionally exhausted from explaining things, because you got to also understand that this isn't a one-way conversation. It's a two-way conversation where I throw my opinions or my views out, and then they throw their objectifying views back at me, or their opposing views back at me. And I have to hook and jab and slip and roll these opinions to finally feel like mine is the superior one, or mine is the right one. I'm going to just keep it a buck with you. You don't have to. You don't have to. It's not your obligation. You can, but it's not your obligation. Because you're going to delay your progress, distract you, exhaust you, because you're constantly trying to seek some type of validation. All right, so now that we've gotten an idea of, how misunderstanding can affect us, let's talk about how to get past that. All right, so one, just like what I had mentioned earlier, you can You feel me? Like, you can provide an explanation to the things that you're doing. You can provide more clarity by all means. And I use myself as an example because I'm constantly getting misunderstood based off of some things that I always say. But you can provide a little bit more context, you know, whether that's creating an episode or whether that's creating a set of notes or, you know, you can do that. But please understand that when you're doing these things, there should be a purpose behind that. If this serves no purpose, and when I mean purpose, all right, I'm not talking about the surface level purpose of I'm explaining this to this random fucking person so that way they can understand it. No. I only provide context. Let me rephrase that. I will only explain something even further if it's with people within my immediate vicinity or if it serves me a greater purpose. All right, and that may seem selfish, but to be honest with you, I'm already on a mission. I can't keep stopping to talk to the fucking locals. I can't. So unless this serves me a greater purpose, I'm not explaining it any further. You can go out and you can do your research. You can go out and you can listen to the episodes. You can go out and you can Google whatever the fuck I said. But I'm not doing it unless it serves a bigger purpose. Just last week, I was in an interview where I provided more context to the videos and episodes that I put out. That served a purpose because of the larger audience that I was reaching. But the people in my comments, like, who are just like negatively opposing, I'm not, dude. You know, and that was a hard thing for me to be able to get over for the simple fact that I demand control when it comes down to me. Like, if I'm in the story, I demand control of my character because I don't want someone saying things about me where I can't say anything back. I don't want people telling others a story about me when I can clear it up. So I had to essentially relinquish that control. Whatever the fuck that person thinks of me, that's what they think of me. I can't control that. Next, understand that these are your views. You see what I'm saying? Whether you're making a change for the better, whether you're, you know, you have a different opinion than someone, whether you have a different viewpoint than someone, understand that these are mutable. You feel me? They can change. You do not have to be set in stone based off of what other people say, based off of how you view things. You don't always have to be set in stone. And what I mean by that is that as you get older and as you gain more experience in a certain situation, of course the thing is going to change. You feel me? Like, if you're making a better change for yourself, you're already going in one direction. You're going to gather some type of experience to realize that maybe you need to double back and grab something, or maybe there needs to be a course in the change. Of course that. Maybe you're putting out a message and you're saying to yourself, like, this is where I stand on this message right now. But once again, as you receive experience in that particular area, of course your message is going to change. And I really want people to understand that, because a lot of times, right, we feel like we're chained to it. That, oh man, because I said this and this is what I'm doing, that regardless of how it goes, I have to stick with it, even if it starts to negatively affect me. But the reality is that you can change. You can change. You're not going to be consistently grounded to. Next, I really want us to feel the emotion and not rationalize it. And what I mean by that is that a lot of times, like, we may think that human beings are rational creatures. We're not. We actually react a lot off of emotion. You know what I mean? Like, and based off of what you do, based off of what you say, based off of how you conduct yourself may feel like a attack towards someone else. You feel me? For when I first joined the military, everybody was acting in a sense of, we need to protect him type of deal. Like, we need to protect him. And because I was going to somewhere where they had never heard, so they were doing everything in their power to try to protect me. And I'm trying to rationalize why they're doing this. I don't need to. You feel me? I wouldn't even learn this until damn near 10 years later. Or if you say something online, and you have to understand that a lot of people base their fucking identities off of certain situations. So if you oppose that, they're naturally going to be defensive because they feel like they're being attacked on such a personal level. You know, so stop trying to rationalize their emotions. Stop. Because you trying to break down someone else's emotions is going to drive you crazy because you don't even know where the fuck it's coming from. You're not a therapist. I'm just going to keep it a buck. You're not a therapist. Just like what I mentioned earlier. If it ain't your immediate family, then if it doesn't serve a purpose, then just let it go. A lot of people tend to react in their emotions and then later on double back because they realize that they reacted emotionally instead of logically. Next, I just really want you to take a step back when you feel like as if someone's not understanding you. Take a step back. When someone is misunderstanding you, take a step back. When you're facing some type of opposition, take a step back. I need you to think about it. I need you to sleep on it. And then to be honest with you, I need you to let it go. When you take a step back, like, when someone says something to you, your immediate response is usually to say something back, to defend yourself. You feel me? But just like what I've mentioned throughout this entirety of it, if it serves no purpose, then why the fuck are you doing it? So take a step back and ask yourself, like, is it really serving me a purpose? And maybe you hot about what they said though. Like you feel me? Because everything is always easier said than done. But maybe they said something to you that really got your blood boiling. I need you to take a real step back now. I need you to sleep on it. And the reason why I say sleep on it is because just like what I mentioned earlier about humans being very emotionally charged instead of logically charged, you can also be that as well. And there's too many times where I've reacted emotionally towards a situation when I should have slept on it. You feel me? Because now I'm just speaking out of anger. Now I'm about to be petty. Now I need to gain the upper hand. You said something about me. I hope you came with receipts because I'm a researcher. I love to look up things. I got something for you. I had to tell myself to close your phone. You feel me? Walk away from them. You feel me? Tell them you'll call them back. Stop texting them and just sleep on it. And if I still feel the exact same way, then I'll say something the next day. I know. But I need these emotions to dissipate. Because if I don't, then I'm going to just be arguing. And we're not gaining anything from arguing at this point now. It's just all about being right versus wrong. Also, when I sleep on it and those emotions go away, I realize that it ain't really that big of a fucking deal. And I just let it go. And there ain't no shame in that. I just let it go. They ain't hurting me. They ain't affecting me. They ain't about to change the course of the mission. You feel me? God gave me a plan. I'm executing on it. They ain't got nothing else to do with me. And lastly, it's okay to just be misunderstood. To get over being misunderstood is just embracing being misunderstood. Depending on what you're doing, people are naturally just going to misunderstand you for the simple fact that they're just not in your head. They're not in your head. Whether that's you're out and you're training the Marines and they think that this is bullshit, not realizing that later on down the line, they're going to appreciate this training. Maybe it's you trying to explain to your family and friends that moving out of the city is the best decision for you and they disagree with it. Hey, that's what they think. I know exactly what's good for me though. Maybe you're explaining or you're putting out a message and everybody else is not understanding it. Hey, I get it, but the numbers don't lie and this is where I stand on it. It's okay to be misunderstood. In fact, embrace it. To be honest with you, don't care about it. You see what I'm saying? Because when you no longer care about being misunderstood and you no longer care about like the lower level of the situation, it's such a liberating feeling. It's such a liberating feeling. Unless this is providing purpose, such as an interview, I'm not really about to clear anything else up. Because even if I do fucking clear it up, and I'll leave you with this, what's worse? You taking the time out? Clearing something up? Or let me rephrase that, providing more context to something? You see what I'm saying? You and this person are going back and forth. Now I assume that this is taking 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours out of your day. You see what I'm saying? And they still walk away with a opposing view. They still don't understand what you're saying. Or, I hear what you're saying. I get it. All right, well, this is what I believe. This is what I understand. And I'm just going to go ahead and go about my day. You have yours. Which one sounds better? Now, granted, just like what I mentioned all throughout this episode, everything is easier than done, and you will have those moments where you slip up because of your emotions. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't serve you, it doesn't serve you. And sometimes you just need to let that shit go. And just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Now, do me a favor, if you're on Apple or Spotify, don't forget to leave a 5-star review for this podcast. And lastly, hit that subscribe button because this podcast deserves to grow just as